What's up everybody, Steven C. Killer here. It's time for a new reaction video. But before that, 77% of you guys watching are not subscribed. Now there are two reasons for this. You're either new or returning. With today's video, I hope you change that. Don't forget to hit that notification bell and join the Discord so you don't miss out on any live streams or new videos. With this being a brand new year, we have a brand new goal, by the way. Instead of 200K, we're going for 250,000 subscribers. Now let's get into this video. What's up everybody, Steven C. Killer bringing another reaction. Now today we have some more Five Nights at Freddy's goodness. Now, I'm a fan of what's been going on lately when it came to the Five Nights at Freddy's game theory, full length, putting everything together, Five Nights at Freddy's timeline that MatPat's has been doing for like the last month or so. And finally, the fourth and final part has been released, and I did do reactions to all four parts. Check them out on the channel. But this was sent to me, and apparently there was a problem with some of the stuff in the sister location portion of that theory. And apparently it has been solved. And this was recommended to me on my Discord by Hayden. And he said fixed MatPat's sister location part for his Ultimate Timeline series. So Hayden brought this to me. I'm going to check out this video to see if there is truly something that needs to be fixed, or maybe something I did not realize in my watching of those timeline videos that I didn't go, that's not right there. So, and that happens. I miss things, and you guys let me know down below in the comments all the time. So let's get into this video and enjoy it. By the way, first time seeing this channel, have not been subscribed, have never seen any of their stuff, but you should still go check out the original video, show your support by subscribing and liking the original video. If there's other videos you want me to check out on this channel, let me know down below. But anyways, let's get into this video and enjoy it right now.
Recently, Game Theory has been making their Ultimate FNAF timeline, meant to be a definitive guide to the main events of the series. And whatever
off the bat, okay, so this is before the fourth and final part has been released. They are only showing the first 3 thumbnails.
you may think about the general accuracy of that timeline, it seems that MatPat has found that there's one way to be at least partially right at all times, and that's to not settle on a specific answer. Specifically, in part 2 of his timeline, he says that William Afton went to the 1987 Freddy's location, then built the Funtime animatronics in the 2 Circus Babies locations, and then went to 1993 Freddy's before getting trapped in his own springlock suit. Then in part 3, he says that Michael went to the Circus Babies location before going to the 1987 and 93 locations in FNAF 2 and FNAF 1. Clearly there's a contradiction here, as the Funtime animatronics can't have been built after Mike went to their location, and MatPat even acknowledges this at the end of part 3 when he says,
"You might have noticed that I was vague about the dates, and there's a good reason for that. I don't know them. There is no good way for me to make them fit in. Just wanted to call that out because I don't have a solid answer for it, and I'd love to see your comments down below."
But hey, if he's asking for help, I'm more than
Yeah, it kind of leaves that open-ended. Okay. So, and this is what he wanted. He wanted other people to pick apart his stuff and bring some light to some things he may have not been able to find or figure out.
happy to provide, though in video form rather than comments, because I've been planning to do one on this topic for months. So strap in and get ready to subscribe, because I think I know exactly when and how Sister Location takes place. The timeline placement of Sister Location is pretty controversial, as demonstrated pretty well by these polls, and it's understandable. Evidence strongly suggests that Mike was at the FNAF 1 and 2 locations, something he would need some sort of reason for if he's using fake names and tampering with the animatronics to the extent he'd get fired for it, and had already probably decomposed to some degree based on getting fired for odor twice, which would indicate Sister Location being before FNAF 2. However, complicating matters are the exact placement of when and why William would have made Circus Babies and the widely held theory called molten MCI, which is generally understood to mean the souls of the missing children are in Molten Freddy and Pizzeria Simulator as a result of William taking the endoskeletons or remnant of the original animatronics in FNAF 3's Follow Me minigames and using them to make the Funtime animatronics, moving the souls of the kids in the process. Fortunately, this is a puzzle that can be solved. We just need to find the pieces and put them together, or more importantly, the right pieces put together in the right places. I know that right off the bat, a lot of people are going to say that there's no possible way that Sister Location can be before FNAF 1 because of the Molten MCI theory, and that because the original kids' souls are present in FNAF 1, that means that William dismantling the FNAF 1 animatronics would have to be after the events of that game so that he could use their parts or remnant to make the Funtime animatronics, giving them the kids' souls in the process, which would mean that by the time Pizzeria Simulator came around, the kids would have been in Molten Freddy. The evidence for this theory comes in part from the Ultimate Guide, which says that William melting the the original animatronics together in the fourth closet gives an idea for how Molten Freddy came to be, and that part of Henry Emily's insanity ending speech in Pizzeria Simulator seems to confirm that William Afton was collecting remnant from the possessed animatronics. Additionally, in Pizzeria Simulator, Candy Cadet tells 3 different stories of 5 things being combined into
what the fuck?
one, and further interpretation of Henry's speech implies that the missing
Which is still, I need to go eventually play that fucking game, but I know I'm slacking.
kids were called to the Pizzeria Simulator location when he says,
I don't know how those tiny breaths of life came to inhabit those machines, but they will never find rest now, not like this. I have to call them all back, all of them, together in one place.
It seems pretty open and shut at first glance. However, there are quite a few things that don't line up with the idea that the Funtime animatronics had the souls of the missing children's incident kids as of sister location. First of all, using the Ultimate Guide as a source is questionable at best, the evidence for which is conveniently provided by Impulse737 in a video I'll have linked in the description. The book also suggests that the reason Mike got fired for Odor in FNAF 1 and FNAF 2 was because he was a decomposing corpse, which would put those games firmly after the events of sister location. Plus, it only says that the fourth closet gives an idea of how Molten Freddy came to be, not that the sister location animatronics were possessed by the missing kids. As such, I recommend against using it as evidence for either side, especially if it's contradicted by the games. Speaking of the games, Henry's speech in the insanity ending is incredibly vague, and while it says William robs them of the only thing they had again, it never says what that thing he robbed his victims of was, or if he was able to do anything with what he stole. It could just mean that he took away their ability to achieve their happiest day, or that he took remnant from them, but not that he managed to do anything with that remnant. As such, it doesn't confirm when Molten Freddy would have gotten the kids' spirits, or if William was involved. On top of that, while the Candy Cadet stories do have 5 things and stuff being put together, none of the stories actually have characters symbolic of William making that happen, and one of them doesn't even have 5 things becoming one. Rather, the stories are about a woman who has the chance to use one of 5 keys to save one of 5 children, but saves none due to melting the keys together, a boy who turns a blind eye as a snake eats one of 5 kittens out of a box, but after 5 nights has regrets, so he cuts open the snake, puts the remains of the kitten together, and puts it back in the box. And a kind man who adopts 5 orphans only for them to be killed by a burglar, leading the man to stitch the bodies together and put them in one coffin because he didn't have money for more than one. To me, it makes much more sense for these to represent Charlie, Michael, and Henry respectively, something I can
What the fuck?
go into more detail about in a future video if people are interested, than for them to all be about William melting down the endos or combining the remnant of the missing kids to make the Funtimes. As such, I don't think there's any solid evidence that the Funtimes themselves had the missing kids' souls built in. In fact, the games show that the kids' souls were very much still attached to the classic animatronics as far as FNAF 3. Both of FNAF 3's endings require the spirits of the original kids to be present at that location, as the spirits can't be freed unless they're around, and the bad ending where Happiest Day doesn't happen explicitly shows the eyes of the original animatronics' heads lit up to indicate the continued presence of the spirits. Heck, the fact that the spirits are around to chase William into the Springlock suit proves that their spirits weren't trapped in a bunker with the Funtime animatronics when that happened. This is why I distinguish between Molten MCI and Funtime's MCI. The only way for Molten MCI to be possible would be if the spirits ended up in Molten Freddy after FNAF 3. Molten Freddy clearly has parts that weren't in the original animatronics, so it has been picking up parts, and despite losing Baby, it still has a considerable amount of mass, so it's possible that it picked up haunted parts from the FNAF 3 location. Either way, evidence pretty strongly indicates that Molten MCI can't come into play until after FNAF 3, and given Scott came out shortly before Pizzeria Simulator's release to say he had made only one pretty seamless retcon that didn't cause any issues, I highly doubt that the souls being around for both of FNAF 3's endings and William's springlocking have been retconned, as that would be in no way considered pretty seamless and causing no issues. So if Molten MCI doesn't actually impact Sister Location's timeline placement, what does? There are a few things that we can use to figure this out. First, the time frame that the Funtime animatronics and Circus Baby's Pizza World were made. Second, when William was springlocked. And third, the reasons for Michael and William's activity at the various Fazbear locations they go to. The creation of the Funtimes and Circus Baby's locations have a lot of moving pieces, but fortunately we're told enough that we can get at least a general idea. In the first night of Sister Location, Hand Unit says,
due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment. Unlike most entertainment venues, our robotic entertainers are rented out for private parties during the day.
There are two things we learned from this. First, that Circus Baby's was built after one of the 3 closings of Freddy's. And second, that the specific Circus Baby's location being referred to is most likely the rental location, as that's what Hand Unit describes rather than Circus Baby's Pizza World. Which makes sense, given Circus Baby's Pizza World unceremoniously closed on opening day due to gas leaks. There are 3 notable points in the series when a Freddy's location has closed, excluding, of course, Pizzeria Simulator, which would have to be after Sister Location given the fact that the Sister Location animatronics are present. Once, after the the missing children's incident in 1985, again after FNAF 2's 1987 location went downhill, and again after the 1993 FNAF 1 location shut down 30 years before FNAF 3. This gives us 3 possible points for the placement of sister location: in between the MCI and FNAF 2, between FNAF 2 and FNAF 1, and after FNAF 1. Depending on how back the Funtimes were made, that could push the events of sister location further up the timeline. However, with the time they seem to have been made, I don't think that would actually change things. Despite the fact that the Funtimes appear relatively high-tech, that doesn't actually mean they were made closer to the present day. In fact, amongst the unreleased data for FNAF AR, there's a list of FAS facts, one of which says some of the first animatronics built by William Afton featured claw mechanisms that were able to hide away items inside them. I don't know about you, but this sounds very reminiscent of what we see Circus Baby do to Elizabeth and the child-shaped cavity in Funtime Freddy, meaning that the Funtimes and Circus Baby were probably built pretty early in the timeline, and honestly it does make sense. William had to get the board of whatever company he was doing stuff for to sign off on the designs he made, something that probably would have been much more difficult after the MCI if he would have been associated with the murders. Additionally, 3 of the Funtime animatronics, Freddy, Foxy, and Bon Bon, are clearly associated with Fazbear Entertainment characters, and by the time FNAF 2 rolls around, William doesn't seem to be associated with Fazbear Entertainment, which owned these characters, or at least in the position where he would be making animatronics. Unless he got permission from the board of a new company to infringe on Fazbear Entertainment's properties somehow, he would have had to make the Funtimes while still associated with the company, and probably previous to the MCI, seeing as the board wasn't quite suspicious enough to not sign off on the murder robots. However, he would need a reason to make said murder robots so early in the timeline, and fortunately, or unfortunately for Elizabeth, I think he had one. It seems likely that the Funtimes were made to lure children so that William could study Remnant, a special substance created by the combining of souls or memories with metal due to powerful emotions, such as those created by the death of a child. This means that for William to make the Funtimes for that purpose, at least one child would have needed to possess something, and we have the perfect candidate, Charlie Emily. She was the first kid William killed, probably as a way to lash out at Henry if his whole flip-flopping between jealousy and near worship thing from the Silver Eyes carries over to the games, and she's the first kid we see possess an animatronic. When Charlie possessed the puppet, the animatronic gained tear streaks on its face that weren't there before, something William could have seen and investigated, leading to his discovery of Remnant. Heck, the song title of the security puppet minigame in Pizzeria Simulator where we see the circumstances of Charlie's death is called Alchemist's Fantasy, which most likely refers to how alchemists had the fantasy of creating an elixir of life that could provide functional immortality. I don't know about you, but to me that sounds pretty similar to Remnant keeping spirits anchored to the world of the living. So to me it makes sense that Charlie possessing the puppet was the start of William's own Alchemist's Fantasy, where he saw that something was keeping her spirit around and wanted to know how he could do the same. And honestly, the Funtimes being built before the MCI makes sense for another reason. If it was robots making the kids go missing, and only after making sure the kid was alone as indicated by Circus Baby counting children, William would have had an alibi, and if anyone did see what happened, it would be a machine failure, not necessarily William's fault. Of course, this had the unintended consequence of causing his daughter's death, to which he probably went, you know what, I'm doing it myself. Of course, there's
Yeah, there's a lot of points here that I'm actually agreeing with, yeah.
There's also the fact that in Sister Location there was a spring lock suit that Baby tells Mike was from her old pizzeria, so for one to be made for that location, it makes sense that it would be before their use was discontinued by Fazbear Entertainment. With all that said, Sister Location could still pretty much be anywhere in the timeline in terms of the 3 options I presented earlier, as the rental location could have been opened after any of the 3 closures based solely on when Circus Baby's Pizza World was open. However, as we can be pretty sure that William spent at least some time at the rental location based on the secret room that had cameras monitoring the FNAF 4 bedroom and a Fredbear plush with a walkie-talkie, the location wouldn't have opened after his death, so we can narrow things down by pinpointing when the Follow Me minigames and William's spring locking took place. The end of night minigames in FNAF 3 show the original animatronics being led through the FNAF 1 pizzeria to the safe room by Shadow Freddy before being torn apart, leaving the souls to chase William into the spring Bonnie suit that caused his death. The pizzeria is run down with a leak in the ceiling and boarded up doors, and seems pretty much abandoned as the only human we see is William. However, I don't think that means that these minigames are after the FNAF 1 location closed. First of all, somehow William had to get sealed in a safe room, as Phone Dude in FNAF 3 only found him after being told about safe rooms being boarded up or something. It seems unlikely to me that something like that could have happened if no one was there to seal William in. Additionally, Phone Guy seems to have been alive when the room was sealed, as he's the one to announce the rooms at various locations being sealed with no one allowed to go in and get their belongings out beforehand, almost as though there was something to hide in there, like a dead body. Even if the other Phone Guy recordings seem to be from earlier in the timeline, probably closer to the MCI and beforehand, the fact that the final recording is about rooms being sealed in a game about Springtrap who was sealed in a room, with the recordings being found in the FNAF 1 location along with the Funky Rabbit Man, leads me to believe that these tapes are a bit more spread out than they may seem at first glance, or at least that one of them was recorded in the location where they were found. But that's not even the strongest evidence for William dying before FNAF 1. That honor goes to the animatronics themselves. It's easy to assume that since this is a FNAF 1 map, these would be the FNAF 1 animatronics, and technically they are. However, there's something that these animatronics have, or more specifically Freddy and Bonnie, that their FNAF FNAF 1 designs don't. Buttons. But you know what animatronics do have buttons? The withered animatronics from FNAF 2, which were then reused at the FNAF 1 location and made into the classics. Given the casing of Freddy that we see in FNAF 3 doesn't have buttons, I don't think this could be a design change made after the events of FNAF 1. Instead, I think that rather than completely redesigning the animatronics right off the bat when the FNAF 1 location opened, they simply finished repairing the wizards, leaving the buttons as part of their designs. Then when William came in and ripped them apart, the endos were salvaged and rebuilt, but with new casing. After all, according to the newspaper about the FNAF 2 location's closing, the company was on a significantly lower budget, so they probably couldn't just get new ones, which could also explain the rundown condition of the building. Rather than building a shiny new restaurant, they had to reuse one that had already been made, and as such it would be in rough condition. As for William being the only one there, it's possible that he took up a job as a security guard, meaning he would be the only one in the building as he destroyed the rebuilt wizards to get their remnant, or whatever he was doing, and then got spring-locked, leaving the day crew to come in, find the dismantled animatronics and the dead guy, and build a fake wall over the original door to ignore their problems. So given William is pretty dead by the time FNAF 1 rolls around, I think we have to rule out the rental location opening after FNAF 1. Now for the slightly more complicated part, placing sister location either before or after FNAF 2. A lot of the evidence for either side can go both ways, unfortunately. Mike gets fired for odor, could be because the dude's a corpse, or it could be that the animatronics he's tampering with smell bad because they had dead kids in them at one point. Mike draws casual bongos and exotic butters in the survival logbook? Well, the office depicted in the logbook is FNAF 3's office, so either the book was made around that time, or the FNAF 3 office was made to imitate the book. Something that could actually be possible, since it does seem like Fazbear Entertainment repossessed Mike's logbook after he used it based on the sticky notes telling the next owner to not mention the spring lock suits to anyone, but who knows. However, there is a way that we can be pretty sure of when sister location takes place. Despite what a lot of people say, I do think Scott is telling a cohesive story with this series. His author blurb in the books says he is first and foremost a storyteller at heart, and in his Reddit post about the one retcon he made, he said that while the story has developed new originally unintended details, the pieces we are given do fit together. And that brings us to the final evidence: narrative consistency and character motivation, specifically that of Michael and William Afton. By completing the hardest game mode of Sister Location's Custom Night, we get a speech from Michael to his father, where he more or less summarizes what happened during Sister Location. What matters here is the end of his speech, where he says,
"There is only one thing left for me to do now. I'm going to come find you."
No matter when in the timeline you put him actually saying this speech, I think this gives us Michael's motivation throughout the games. William is present in the FNAF 2 location only for Michael to show up there days later under the name Fritz Smith. William then goes to the FNAF 1 location, and by the time Mike gets there as Mike Schmidt, William is sealed up in the safe room. In FNAF 3, he finds his father and tries to destroy him only for William to escape. Finally, in Pizzeria Simulator, he reunites with his father again before the place is burned to the ground. Pretty much every game has Michael trying to find his father, and that's a motivation that would have been given to him after essentially becoming a zombie and losing his shot at a normal life. Not only would sister location being prior to FNAF 2 work well for Michael's story arc, but it works really well for William's as well. If the reason he dismantled the pre-FNAF 1 animatronics was to collect their remnant, his activity during FNAF 2 was likely for a similar reason. And if he was collecting remnant, he would need a good reason to do that. For example, his murder robots that were being rented out and possibly gathering remnant, ditching circus babies, and getting all the remnant into the scooper injected into Michael. Even if Michael was instructed to go to circus babies by William, that doesn't mean William had to be dead to not be around for Michael to have the goal to find him. I mean, for all we know, he sent Mike there, and when Mike came back filled with robot bits, William noped on out of there so he didn't have to deal with that and could focus on making up his losses. Or he could have skipped town and come back later under a fake identity like he does as Dave Miller in The Silver Eyes. Any other small details that may not line up probably do have an explanation if looked at from another angle. For example, Mike managing to get hired despite being dead could either be due to Remnant healing his body or him using an illusion disc to look normal. After all, the scrapped Fazbear
That's true. The illusion disc. That's got brought back. Okay.
Fright story, You're the Band.
Ooh, Michael using that so he doesn't look like a corpse. Yeah?
Includes Mike the security guard who knows a suspicious amount about Freddy's in possession, who looks like a normal college kid in the year 2015. So I think some shenanigans could easily be afoot. Mike being a kid in 1983 and presumably an adult in sister location can also be explained, since based on how much taller Mike is than the crying child during FNAF 4, he was probably in his mid-teens, meaning he could have pretty easily been 18 by the time sister location happened. Alternatively, Fazbear Entertainment is not known for caring about legality in regards to its employees, and William...
He could definitely be like 15 in that scene, maybe 14 at at the youngest.
Could have pulled some strings before getting out of there. Either way, I think it makes the most logical and narrative sense for sister location to take place sometime between the missing children's incident and FNAF 2. But hey, if you think there's additional evidence for something that you want me to address, feel free to let me know, as I will be reading all of the comments. If you liked the video, I would really appreciate if you shared it with a friend. And MatPat, if you are seeing this and happen to have an open slot for your Timeline Theory Talkback stream on the 25th, and are open to having virtual guests, I am in fact available. Half jokes aside, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't get stabbed, and have a nice day.
What? Don't get... Alright, that's one way to... By the way, don't get stabbed. I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye! What the fuck? Alright, well, all I have to say, it was hard to commentate because I was intrigued, and it was no pausing or anything. The way she recorded this, she took out every moment of her, like, pausing or breathing or something, because it was like one giant flowing, like, just constant. It was hard to find moments where I could pause, where I didn't feel like I was interrupting something, and it was good though, but goddamn. Not an easy video to react to, and I know it was quiet for a good bit, but goddamn. But yeah, this had a lot of good points, and I'm intrigued in this person's, like, theory and everything to add towards what the timeline and everything of sister location for MatPat. And I will say this: if there's another video that comes out, Hayden, you'll probably let me know about it. That comes out with the even more based off of the newest video of the game theory stuff. I'll have to check that out in the future. And if you have suggestions that you guys want me to see that add to or change up some of the timeline stuff, if you guys are interested and you guys enjoy this stuff, show your support by liking and subscribing to the channel, of course. But comment down below other ideas and stuff like that you guys want me to react to. Or the best method is still to join my Discord and post a reaction idea section. Like this video got done today because it was in there. And shout out to Hayden once again. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this reaction. If you guys did, you know what to do. Until next time, guys, stay tuned for some reactions and or live streams either on YouTube or Twitch. Links down below. See you in the next one. Bye!
This is the Prince of the motherfucking Saiyans, and I am ordering you to subscribe to Steven Z. Killer!